Welcome, everybody, to a new edition of UFO Man Live. My name is Tim, or UFO Man, and to my far right is Tommy Highway. Tommy?
Hey, folks, I'm Tommy Highway. I want to thank everybody for coming out as always. We have a very interesting show this evening, folks. We've got several guests with us. We're going to talk about a lot of different subjects. We're also going to talk about the Rendlesham Forest incident or the Bentwaters Base incident, whichever way you want to see it. But, folks, let me go ahead and introduce our guest for the evening. Folks, you've seen her here before. She's absolutely lovely. She's a very interesting person. We have Sherry from Paranormal Ward Investigators. But we're also very privileged to have some newcomers with us this evening. We've got Chris and Dakota from Bald and Bonkers YouTube channel. So we want to thank all those folks for being with us. And Sherry, if you could maybe start out and tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Hello, I am Sherry. I am from Paranormal World Investigators and Paranormal World Investigators Research Division. I work and specialise in the strange and the unknown. And hello to everybody.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Sherry.
Hi, Sherry. Thanks for being here with us. We really appreciate that. How about yourself, Chris? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, I'm Chris, and I'm one of obviously the hosts of Bald and Bonkers, and here it's their channel here. We're at 971 subscribers. I would like to get to 1,000, maybe that'll happen, I don't know. But thank you for having me tonight.
Our pleasure to have you here. Absolutely. And Dakota, would you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yes, my name is Dakota Franson. I'm known as the specialist for the strange. Anything under the supernatural umbrella I've been a part of. I've worked with Chris for a little over a year now. We recently started up Bald and Bonkers as our own venture into the supernatural, try to get a bunch of different perspectives on the matter. Thanks for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. Thank you for being here. Absolutely.
I see besides supernatural, you're also delving into ufology.
Yes, there's quite a few interesting stories behind that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's the supernatural stuff's interesting, but then when it comes to UFO subject, that's the question you've always wanted to know: are we alone in the universe?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Very true.
Yeah. Well, humankind's biggest question, absolutely. I mean, is there a God? Is probably number one, and number two, are we alone in the universe?
Yeah.
That's basically where we're at. It's very interesting. I caught you guys over on Sherry's one of Sherry's streams, which was lovely, by the way. I was really interested in your stories, and especially one that was Dakota was citing that he was talking about that experience with UFOs he had, and it really gripped me. And it was one of those things that as a storyteller myself, it takes a good story to trip my trigger, if you will. And yours really did. And I wondered if maybe you would be kind enough to tell us that story, share it with us.
Oh, which part of the story are you talking about? Because it kind of evolved into something that so many other people are starting to be affected by it.
There was some, I guess, alien contact involved.
All right. Well, I guess start from the beginning. My interest when it came to UFOs started after an incident when I was about 5 years old, when all of a sudden I woke up about 30 miles away from home one night.
Wow.
And nobody had any clue how I got there. Thankfully, it was at my grandparents. So a lot of people say, oh, maybe your parents just dropped you off. Well, my father wasn't in the picture. My mother, she had no clue I was gone. She was calling my grandparents the next morning, freaking out, thinking that I was kidnapped. I guess technically you could say I was. Then no one knew how I got in the house. All the doors, all the windows were locked. Not even the dogs knew I was around. Then it's just over the years, there were several experiences where I would see stuff in the sky. And actually, not too long ago, I'm from Idaho here in the United States, and my area was actually listed as one of the highest UFO sightings back in 2020. Not really a big surprise. Eventually, it started to progress to where I would start experimenting with different ways of contact using radios, the CE5 protocols, to which the situation has now evolved to where I may have hybrid children out there. Now, I know that's a bold claim to make. I can't necessarily prove it without, something showing up like out of the day after tomorrow, but the thing is, at least 15 people so far have come forward in different parts of the world. 2 of them are on this panel with me who have seen one of my kids, and immediately they recognize that, yeah, that's somehow related.
Wow. Well, we do know that there is a hybrid program going on with maybe several different alien races, specifically the Greys. The information you're giving us in regards to having a child out there is very plausible, because there have been other accounts such as yours over the years.
Absolutely. And if you could go just a little bit further, because I mean, I thought your story is compelling. It's just so compelling.
I'm bringing up the little key points because it's a novel in itself, but from what we've been able to tell so far, and I wasn't even considering that it was a UFO related at all when I first noticed the child. The child first appeared to me when I was about 12 years old, and there was a situation where I attempted to take my own life, and there was this vision that ended up stopping me. I was, for lack of a better word, I was in this void where the light around me kind of moved in a way that was a lot like being deep underwater. All of a sudden, this male figure appears in front of me and says, "Dakota, there's someone here to see you." He steps aside, and all of a sudden, there's this little girl just absolutely bawling her eyes out, saying, "Dakota, please don't do it." And years later, in the former organization that I met Sherry and Chris through, there was an incident involving the Hat Man that attacked several of our members during a live stream, which we suspect may have some Anunnaki connection. Next thing you know, several members who were affected the most all of a sudden came to me, started seeing that there was a little girl who looked exactly like me showing up that seemed to help them recover from the situation. The situation actually evolved to the point where I was able to get so much information. I was able to use computer generation in order to create an image of her that, based on the number of times people's eyeballs practically shot out of their skulls when I showed it to them, I say it was pretty accurate.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. And so you believe that was a hybrid child, possibly?
From the looks of her, you can tell she's hybrid by just how she looked, and she was the splitting image of Dakota.
You want to see the image?
Sure.
Young.
All right. Well, just try to dig in.
I mean, I've seen it, Dave.
I don't know if I can pop it up because I have all the screens used, but we'll try.
All right. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Basically, I didn't even consider hybrid until we got to talking with a medium friend of ours. Her name is Lisa Fry. She looked at the image directly and said that, she looks Pleiadian. And from what I've read up, is a certain Pleiadian, I guess, faction, you could call, that is notorious for interbreeding with the indigenous peoples of certain planets in order to help them be able to survive on that world. And it's also been brought to my attention, which is probably the more concerning factor in all this, that where is that image? Anyway, that apparently, while they do have the technology to be able to artificially grow the children, they really like the old-fashioned way. It is not wanting to work for me.
Well, we've heard of fetuses disappearing, at certain stages of pregnancy. Women were absolutely pregnant. I mean, they'd seen the ultrasound, the whole 9 yards, and suddenly the fetus is gone.
Right.
And there are all kinds of stories like that out there in ufology. I mean, that's actually kind of a common thing, really.
I mean, we did one last week where we talked about the Brooklyn Bridge abductions with Linda Napolitano. And after that initial abduction, she had a fetus removed. And it was 3 months after she found out she was pregnant. And then 6 years later, she had a reoccurring abduction where she was shown a small girl excuse me, a small boy, and the boy recognized her, but shied away. And she asked the being that was there, Can he come with me? And the being said, no, he would not survive in your environment. So even though they're hybrid, they're not yet able to survive in our environment.
I've had a similar follow-up incident where there was this one night where I remember being taken into what looked like a hospital room, and I could see this woman lying in a bed holding a baby in her arms with this little girl. She realizes I'm in the room, says, "Daddy, come meet my new baby brother."
Wow.
Where, I mean, I can still do spirit box sessions where all of a sudden things are reaching out saying, "Hi, Dad, I love you."
Wow. Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Chris, you've got also had some interesting stories, sir. Would you like to enlighten us?
Oh, well, I've always been into the supernatural. I've always been into ghosts. As Sherry knows. And
Yes.
I've got a ghost in my house. Probably everybody's got, and I see him quite regular. Then I bumped into Sherry and I bumped into Dakota here, and this is when all this UFO stuff started for me. A couple of years ago, I seen a couple of black triangles because I live in like a rural location in Scotland, and I've seen them a few times, just moving slowly through the sky, no sound, nothing, and then they just appear. But it was actually Dakota. We got a medium on. Her name was Lisa, and this is absolute crazy. She was what was it, Dakota? She was like a channeler. She could channel. Is it the Galactic Federation? And that night, I went off. I was fine after doing my live. And this weird. It was like a white room. And I know this is sounding mad, but it was like a white room and there was all these people round about me. I woke up the next day and I felt great. So I told Dakota. He had the exact same dream that night. Along with another guy. He had the exact same dream. Night. And then it started to unravel. It started to I started seeing them. It started coming more. And then there was one night I was like taken to this world. And it was like purple. It was like purple world, and I asked, "Where am I?" And they went, "Oh, you're on Titan." And then Sherry, you get took there, and you didn't even know anything about this. And she was the exact same place. She had the exact same dream.
It was strange, but I also had another room as well that I went to first. Yeah.
Yes, they two I seem to get the heel ship. They don't let me in for some weird reason. They just keep me in the waiting room. I don't know, I must be annoying or something. And they keep me in the kind of waiting area. But it's happening more and more and more and more now. Now it's people take you over. And you get like a trance. And I know things. And it's weird. I know things that the same as Dakota. And I'll message Dakota and he'll know exactly what I'm talking about because he's just seen it. And it's as if it's ramping up and it's as if they're coming. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Dakota?
So you believe this is related to alien contact? Is that your conduit, you believe, or okay. Interesting.
Yes. Yeah, it's getting to the point now where it's I'm having the dream, and at the exact same time Sherry's having the exact same dream. I'm seeing when I have a dream, I see Sherry and she sees me, And Dakota sees me and I see Dakota. And we can all remember it. And we can remember the landscape, we can remember the rooms, we can remember everything down to a T.
It's not
I
from
mean,
here.
no.
Interesting.
Definitely
It's
not.
it's actually, I would say, getting worse. It's getting more and more and more. I don't know if I'm opening up more. I don't know what's happening, but it seems to
See,
be
for
getting
me,
stronger and
it's
stronger.
hard. For me, it's difficult because these guys have worked really closely into the ufology and stuff. For me, I've been coming into this more slowly. I've had experiences. I have had what I believe is an abduction, but I won't say that it is. Okay, so, but I've had those experiences, which means I am linked
Yeah.
for a reason and things. And through meeting, obviously, you and Tim, I started to get little things. Then I come into contact with Dakota and Chris again, and it kind of just blew up. And where obviously, as you know, I channel spirit, I also channel them. Okay. And I've been able to get symbols. I've been able to say about different
Yeah.
planet bits. I've got a weird Stargate mapping that I don't even know. I've been into places. I was in a grey room. Then I ended up in a white room where I see Dakota and I see Chris. And I was like, right, what's going on here? I was inside a
Yeah.
bed. I'm told that I am linked to their realm, that I am them, but I was sent here to watch over. I know it sounds mad, but this is what we've all been told, that we're here to
Yeah, it's
link.
not just that.
There's
It's the
just so much
language.
to it.
Yeah. There's a really language. It's an old language. Nobody really knows where it came from. It's called the light language.
And that as well,
And
yeah. We
when
talk
I get into
strange
my kind
language.
of possessed state, when I get into my possessed state, I only told Dakota. He never told anyone else. And then one day Sherry started speaking it, and it's as if me, Dakota, and Sherry are linked. And it's getting to the point now where I'm seeing stuff. I mean, I'm seeing, it's like visions of what's going to happen, what's coming, what's unfolding, and it's crazy.
Very interesting. You know, Sherry, you were on several shows ago, and you told a great story about a possible abduction that you experienced, and that one always kind of stuck with me about the car and all of that. Would you mind sharing that with us?
Well, there is another part to that we've kind of come to establish since me getting involved with Dakota and that. Before I'd had the so-called abduction, I'd seen this energy that was in the middle of the road that was about 7 or 8 feet tall. He was green. He had this green ball round him. I at first put that as a spirit because that was what I looked into. But he was different to what I know spirits look like. But I didn't put it to be an alien. But now I'm kind of feeling that it is, and I'm being shown inklings that that was my first encounter. Then, obviously, I was coming home from my brother's house. I was in my friend's car, and we come to the junction of a roundabout where we're sitting waiting to move, and there was this craft that come over the top of the car. It had this triangular shape that was moving continuously, and this light just beamed so bright that it blinded us. We could not see anything. We do not recall seeing anyone. We only recall seeing that. But we'd lost an hour and a half of time, and our car had been moved from one side of the road to the other end, and we could not explain how that had happened. I, after that, for a couple of days, had some very strange encounters kept continuing. I have, for a very long time, had encounters where I believe that I'm astro projecting, like I did when I first see my alien friend that is here with me. I astro project, I think, and I was in my front room looking out of my window, and these white lights would continuously turn up, and it would look like they're taking me. But I would not remember that, and I'd come back and find myself laying in my bed.
Wow.
There are stories out there indicating that sometimes when abductions are done, they're done through astral projection. They're
Yeah.
not done physically. So the body is left in the bed, but the spirit goes with them. Now, I've heard this before, on several occasions. Actually, in one story from Whitley Strieber, where there was an astral projection involvement. So yes, I do believe you 100%.
Like I said to you guys, when I first see it, it would always be me stood in the front room and looking at these lights. So I just thought it was my physical body. But now thinking back to where I'd been treated in this encounter with the energy that I've come attached to from up there, you know, it made me realise that, you know, I'm doing that a lot more, and maybe that is what it was. I was being astro projected out my body, not seeing myself being astro projected, and I'm standing in the front room,
Right.
and that's when they're taking me. But you know, through doing that, and more recently, but through doing that, I've been learning a lot more about myself, and that I'm supposed to be linked to them somehow, and I'm here for a reason. Apparently, they have energies that they send into a human form to be here to look over, and they're also known as hybrid. They're
Right.
just ones that are capable of living on this plane. The same as Dakota, the same as Chris. You know, we've all been told certain things that we're not just linked to this plane. So we don't know. And I've got a lot of stuff here. I don't know if you want to see,
It's-
but I've got the symbols and things that I was getting.
Oh, very interesting.
And the map, which this is meant to be my planet. There's 3 moons and 3 stars. They keep saying neglect galaxy star 8 to me as well, and a connection to that. I've got the symbol that's meant to be represented to my place
Interesting.
there. And then the clothing. I'm not very good with clothes drawing, but this is what my guy wears. This is the one that comes to me.
So he's got a hood.
He has a hood, and he has this thing that goes on his head like a diamond shape that's on his head. It's random.
Interesting.
And the white and purple clothing. And when they come in a visiting form, they don't have the cloak. They just have the headbit and the bodysuit.
We have a
So,
question. We have a question from the chat room from Brent Elliott. Can they read your mind?
Can they read your mind? Yes, they can read your mind. And you, when you become connected with them
Oh, aye.
and communicate with them, you become connected to them as well. So sometimes you can feel what they're feeling. You know what they're thinking. Obviously, when they do come into communication with us, I can actually be fully took, or I can actually do it where I can still be functioning in this world and know what I'm doing, but I can also communicate them as well. So I'm aware of everything I'm doing. They most definitely do communicate with you. This, we've come to establish, maybe a DNA of hybrid. I got this in a vision. This was just being shown.
Interesting.
And then it just goes into strange things like spaceships and different spaceships.
Wow.
Very interesting.
I mean, the ones that have came. I mean, the ones
Them
that
ones, and then
the
there's
ones
this
that have
one.
came
I
in
don't know if it's a spaceship or if it's a sister ship or what it is. That's the beds that they're in when they're put to sleep, when they can go into a human body. Then I got this, which was a vision I got on Dakota and Chris's stream, and I drawed it out because that's what I was seeing. And then I got
That's
this,
it.
which is the sister ship that they showed me in the vision. But that, to me as well, that looks like something that may be under the water, like a faculty that where they live,
Like a
or
base.
something like that. It's
Yeah.
really random.
Aye.
So yeah, I get lots of bits and lots of writing stuff.
Very
Oh,
cool.
that's very neat. Yes.
Mhm.
to quote probably here. What Dakota probably agree with me here. They're different entities. Like the one that comes to me is totally different looking from the one that comes to Sherry, and the one that goes to Dakota is totally different from my one. It's weird. It's as if they're in a kind of alliance. It's how they work. It's so strange.
Right.
That's very interesting, guys. That's one of those things that I'm not really an astral projection person or anything like that, but I think that the fact that you folks are having the same dream, things of that nature recurring, It's very interesting to me. I'm sure that our audience feels that way as well. But I tell you, folks, I think that one of the things that we really wanted to cover tonight, and we wanted to get a good panel discussion about, was the Rendlesham Forest incident that happened over in England at a U.S. military base. We're talking about December of 1980. And this is one of those sightings that's very unique in that we've got an awful lot of very high up people in the military, like Colonel Charles Halt, for instance, the base commander at the time. They've actually come out after their retirement and they've talked about this. And I mean, they talked about it with a great deal of passion. I mean, when you listen to this man talk about this, and there he is, of course, aged many years later, he's obviously telling the truth. There's no reason for this guy to lie. And there are all kinds of other witnesses that are backing him up. One of which I thought was interesting was a young lady, and she was interviewed by, what's the doctor that does the UFO stuff, Tim? Stephen Greer. I'm sorry. I had brain lapse. Dr. Stephen Greer actually interviewed her for one of his programs. And she was actually one of the MPs that was at one of the gates to get in and out kind of thing of the base. And she talked about how several spheres came down right over top of the runway. They were looking right at them. They were doing this, that, and the next thing. And she also went on to talk about how years later, long after she was out of the military, she ran into that base's commanding officer or someone high-ranking official at that base at a party or some sort of social event. And she mentioned it, hey, remember what happened that night? And as soon as she did that, the guy went ice cold on her and just like walked away. I had this very same I've had this very same thing happen to me with a military person in my life as well. But it's interesting that this has been so many years, decades ago, but now we're actually coming up with some new possible photographic evidence on this particular incident. But first, I think, Tim, do you want to go ahead and roll the video from
Sure, I can do that. Sure.
All right.
In December 1980 at RAF Bentwaters, which is in East Suffolk, England. We had an incident that took place over 3 nights. The first night, our security police thought they saw a downed aircraft off the base. They responded and confronted a strange craft on tripod-like legs, about 9 feet on a side, smooth, metallic. It had writing similar or markings similar to hieroglyphics on it. They had some type of an interface with the craft. Perhaps one went aboard it, we don't know. They had 45 minutes of lost time, and we don't know all the details of exactly what happened. The following night, there was another incident where one of the security police officers actually had a nervous breakdown and threw her gun down because of a confrontation with something. We never found out exactly what. The third night, I was called out to investigate, and there were objects in the sky. There was a glowing object in the forest. It moved about between the trees. It moved out into the farmer's field beyond the forest. It glowed. It appeared to be dripping something like molten metal. It silently exploded into 5 white objects and disappeared. We went out into the field to investigate and noticed objects in the sky. There were 3 to the north. They were elliptical with multicolored lights. They moved in a synchronous pattern together as though they were doing a grid search. They turned from elliptical to full circles while we watched. They stayed in the sky for a long period of time. I tried to have them identified by air defense radar and the air traffic control tower, but they told me they didn't see anything. I found out years later they did see something, but they didn't want to talk about it or reveal it. There were 2 objects to the south, one of which came overhead at high speed, sent down a laser-like beam at our feet. It illuminated the ground in a circle of about 10 to 12 inches in diameter, and as suddenly as it appeared, it disappeared. The other object to the south flew over Bentwaters Base and sent down beams similar to the one we saw in or near the weapons storage area. The objects remained in the sky for approximately 3 to 4 hours. We got tired, cold, wet, and hungry and went back to the base. We never found out exactly what they were. I had carried my pocket recorder with me, and I made a tape recording, which I'm going to play at the program tomorrow. I was asked to write a memo, which I did. I sent it through the liaison officer to the British Ministry of Defense. They filed it away and did nothing. Years later, a copy came out and became public knowledge. After the tape and the memo became public knowledge, my life changed for a while. I was hounded half to death by the press and the media. Since then, it's quieted down, and I've retained my normal life, I guess is the best way to put it. I occasionally come to events such as we're having today here. I'm about done with doing that. I've about talked myself out. Well, I can tell you, the air traffic controller saw it go across their 60-mile screen, which covers a 60-mile area, not as a blip, blip, blip like normal when the radar sweeps. It went across as a streak in 3 or 4 seconds, which means 3,000 to 4,000 miles an hour. Twice it did that. It came back by the air traffic control tower. They visually watched it. It was growing orange. They watched it go over into the forest where we were and disappear into the forest where we were. The people in the weapons storage area also saw it. So there were multiple witnesses in at least 3, if not 4 locations, all saw it.
So that's the footage from Colonel Charles J. Hall. He's retired. He's still alive. Very interesting account. But we came up with some pictures that were submitted to a website called UFO Casebook, but they're alleged. So we'll let Tommy take over.
Yeah, let's get into the photos a little bit later, but let's go ahead and discuss this incident first. First off, we've got, number one, what do we have here? We've got a nuclear base. Now, Bentwaters was not supposed to have nuclear weapons stored there by UK law, the whole 9 yards. They could not be kept there. However, years later, after the base was closed and all that, it was actually disclosed that, in fact, that was a major nuclear weapons stockpile during the Cold War. It was also a major base for the A-10 Warthog, which, as we all know, or many of us know, that's a plane, an American jet that's designed to kill other armor, kill tanks, things like that. It was a huge base for those. So what happened was, in the wee hours, there's all kinds of different things that happen over a 3-day period. But one of the interesting thing was there was some strange lights out in the forest, and there was a 3-man team that were sent out there to figure out what was going on, because it wasn't actually on the base, but it was somewhere deep in the forest. So they went ahead and 3 guys got into a Jeep. They took off out there to try to find it. They eventually had to stop the Jeep and get out on foot for some reason. But they walked up on this triangular craft that actually had like hieroglyphics on it. Okay, this thing was hovering above, just a few feet above the ground, and they said it looked like black glass almost. Now, it didn't really react to them or anything else. In fact, one of the individuals that was there, that whoever was the highest, the sergeant, I think, the highest ranking person, actually walked up and made physical contact with this object, and supposedly got some kind of binary code from this thing that was actually implanted into his mind, and he wrote about that years later. But this was like a multi-stage, almost I don't want to say UFO attack, but whatever they were doing, they were very interested in that base in that area. There's also witness testimony of a large spherical object hovering over top of the base and shooting a laser beam type of ray down into the storage bunkers where the nuclear weapons were supposedly kept that they weren't supposed to have. So again, there's people from all over this base talking about this 72-hour period where basically all hell broke loose in terms of ufology. Tim, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say Rendlesham is right up there with some of the best evidence that UFOs are indeed either assessing or scanning our abilities militarily, whether they're trying to shut us down or show us they have the power to shut us down, or maybe they're just scanning us to see how far advanced we've come. My theory is that they're actually scouting us out, because ever since the first atomic blast, there's been a flurry of UFO activity all over the world, especially within the United States and the United Kingdom. And in regards to nuclear warheads, nuclear subs, anything that is nuclear related, there is some type of interaction going on. And if they are scouting out our military capabilities, are they going to use it against us in the future? Or are they using it to keep us in check? See, this is the one thing I've always wondered. What do you think, Tommy?
Well, Sergeant Pendleton was the guy who actually made contact with the object that was out there in the forest, and he actually received 11 pages of binary code, supposedly sent directly to his mind, and he was actually able to retain that and actually able to write it all down and make some sort of a sense of it years later. And it was some sort of a message about the planet or the environment, things of that nature, if I'm not mistaken. But this was one of those huge things, and it's great that we have some European folks on the panel with us tonight, because I kind of wanted to talk to you. Have either of you actually heard of the story before?
I'm not really familiar
No.
with it. I've heard the name.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
I've heard about it.
No.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I've heard about it. I mean, it's quite an infamous case. It's where the guy touched it and there's like something downloaded onto his. Whatever happened there? Did they ever try and decipher the code that was downloaded on?
That was the binary code. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, I'm aware of that.
Has MD ever thought? Yeah, I mean, it's been well known case that it is on the TV quite a lot here in the UK. They do talk about it a lot. See the alien thing. I don't think they're checking us out. I think, and this is my honest opinion, I don't think they're going to attack us because, let's face it, I don't think we would last very long. And if they wanted to attack us, they would have done it a long time ago to get rid of us. I think it's something to do with the nuclear weapons. I think it's something that you take the first bomb station. When was Roswell after it? I mean, I think it's something that damages the radiation.
Well, there are theories that an explosion that violent could be messing with the space-time continuum and other dimensions. Yes. and all kinds of things. I mean, Dakota, do you have any thoughts on that?
One thing that a lot of people have to remember is that Oppenheimer, the creator of the atomic bomb, hated the fact of what he created. Mm-hmm. You realize there could be some sort of damage, and I don't want to try to say for sure unless I get to play with one of these aircraft one of these days, but it could very well be that something about the radiation, the disruption on the molecular level, that could mess with their technology, maybe even other worlds, and maybe even through a multiverse.
Right. That's actually the case. Scientists have come to know now that there is something called interdimensional bleed of the radiation from atomic blasts. Mm-hmm. So you are correct.
No, that's what I'm saying. You don't know they don't know the exact full magnitude of it, and there's some theories out there that they're saying that these ETs, they're seeing us. Maybe at one point they realize, oh, hey, this planet has life that kind of looks like us. Let's check it out, see where they're at. Maybe it's time travelers. Then all of a sudden, now they're blowing things up. They're like, whoa, we got to get these monkeys under control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, could very well be. Sherry, what are your thoughts?
For me, like any race, and even with them, there are a good side and there is a negative side. I do believe that some of their races do want humans for other reasons not good. I do believe that they do watch us to an extent, but not watch us in the way that they're trying to establish something. The fact that they're watching us because they know that we're doing certain things to our planet, and when we're doing certain things to our planet, we're affecting their planets, their worlds. I believe that they're around us as well because we're all more connected to them than what you actually realise. Okay, and I believe that when, like the crossing over and all of this sort of thing, when you pass over, I believe that we can be in many realms, not just in heaven and in the spirit world. Some of these energies, these aliens, extraterrestrials, because they like to be called that, they have certain people that are of importance that they can take the energy of when you pass to take you back to your body up there. Okay, so for me, I do believe that we're punishing our world. We're doing really bad things to our world. They're aware of this. I do believe that they're here trying to stop us from damaging our world. They're trying to stop us from damaging ourselves because we are important to them. But then you've got the other side that do want us to fail and wants the world for themselves. Like, I do believe that 100%. So for me, the explosion in this case, in my opinion, could have very well affected up there as well as down here, which is why there was more sightings at that time, because not just our world was being affected, so was theirs.
Well, let's take a look at humanity. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. I mean,
Yeah.
the first two humans, when one of them invented the stick, he bashed the other one over the head with it. Okay, we are a dangerous and violent species, and I could see how there could be a concern about our dangerous and violent way, our nature, to be impulsive and things of that nature that could maybe concern an interstellar community. I mean, what are these? Do we really want these savages out here with their attitudes? It could be something of that nature. I mean, there's all kinds of interesting theories out there.
And they are very aware of our behaviour and what we do.
Barbarism.
But there are some of us here that are very open to them, and some of us that are more connected. And for that reason, they use us to communicate and to try and teach others, which is what they're doing at the minute. So,
I think they're trying. I honestly think they're trying to help humanity. I think they're trying to give us technological advantage, and they are wanting to come and help, but the governments of the world don't want them to come, because then they'll lose power.
It's like you say the facts of God and you say the facts of Jesus. Now, I know that people are probably going to be like, oh my God, what is she talking about? But you say about the facts of God and Jesus. Okay, how do you know that God, Jesus, is not an alien? How do you know that your creator was not an alien? We're supposed to come from the stars. We're supposed to have come from a far planet. How do you know that our creators are not alien, and that we're formed and we're manufactured to be able to benefit in this world? And they're seeing our failings, and they're seeing the things that they don't want us to be. So they're trying to help us to learn and to become better. That is what I believe they're trying to do. But you've got the ones that want us to go that way and want to destroy everything and want to have us for different reasons. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's no different in all worlds, is it really?
Right. There's a definite duality. There's always a duality throughout the universe. I mean, there's both good and bad. It's not necessarily the way we look at it on Earth. No. But there is good and evil, or maybe say indifference and hostility. There is definitely a difference. I think that the aliens that are visiting now are indifferent because, like Tommy's always referred in several past live streams, he said there was a statement that what was that statement, Tommy, about walking through a forest and seeing an anthill?
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, I usurped that one from Bob Lazar. It was his saying, but like he said, imagine if you're walking down a trail in a forest and you come upon an anthill. Do you actually take the time to stop and try to communicate with the anthill? Okay. What if we as humanity are the anthill? We are the anthill. So are we even interesting enough to communicate with? And we're pretty much primates still. I mean, let's be honest, we're one step away from flinging crap at each other, to be perfectly honest. And that's it, and that's in our best. So humanity's, I don't know, if you look at this from an objective point of view, it's kind of a disappointment, really, because we've put we've put so much resources into killing each other that what's going to keep these aliens from thinking, well, hey, if they actually get advanced enough to venture out into the stars, they might take a shot at us too. So I don't know. There are all kinds of theories. But back to the Bible thing, think about it. There are a couple theories out there. I've heard several actually over the years that imagine if the Bible was alien teachings, but they're trying to put it in a way that primitive mankind or humankind could actually understand.
Yeah.
Right.
you know.
And I think that probably is what it is, some of it. And like John said in the room, God is an alien. Oh yeah, he could do things that you cannot explain and things. But if you think of it from a point of view of this world, we've all been made to believe that God was a human man that just insight powers and was able to do this amazing stuff. Okay, when in fact and in reality, if you look more into it, where does all of this stuff we have come from? Where does the technology and the understanding of stuff come from? I do believe it's from them. I do believe we all have a link to that plane some way. If whether you've been there in a previous life or many lives before, I believe that we're all linked, which is why in some ways we can understand, but in other ways we can't. Like Dakota said, we're in this world and they're in their world. And when you've got people like us that do this, we've not just got to establish our own identity here, we need to learn our identity up there as well. So it's very hard to adapt between two different things, like being human and being like them,
Interstellar.
learning their language and learning to educate. That it's very hard to do that. And even though I speak the language, for ages I was going to Chris and Dakota all the time. Why are they doing this? Why don't I could not understand why I was getting this stuff. And it is very, very mind-boggling.
I still don't know why they do it.
Yeah.
I honestly don't.
Yes, none of us really know why they're doing it, but I do
and I
believe
don't have a
they're
clue
in to
what it
help.
is.
Well, let's go ahead and circle back to Rendlesham, folks, and because we have something very unique that we want to share with our audience this evening. Now, these are alleged photos, okay, that were supposedly taken that evening. And while Tim throws these up on the screen for you, I'm going to go ahead and read this story. These spooky black and white photos allegedly show the UFO at the center of Britain's biggest ever case for the very first time. We're talking about the largest UFO case in Britain history. They were supposedly taken in the Rendlesham forest in Suffolk by a poacher who claims he saw the same UFO being hunted by a military team from a nearby U.S. airbase. And I mean, they're all black and white. There's several different photos, but just I want to direct your attention to the one that's actually shooting the beam down. If these are in fact authentic, then this is just absolutely amazing. And again, we're saying if there's really no great way to authenticate these. We've done the best that we could do. Tim will talk about that in a moment. But the alleged witness claims that he was 200 feet away from Colonel Charles Halt, deputy base commander of RAF Bentwaters, and his men when he spotted the glowing orb in an unsolved case often dubbed the British Roswell after the infamous U.S. UFO crash. So Charles Halt was the gentleman that we saw in the video earlier, folks. And he's just huge. He's a very believable person. There's no reason for this guy to come out and falsify or fabricate a story like this. But anyway, to go further, he said, this is the guy that took the photos. When I was younger, I was a poacher. I lived very close to Rendlesham Forest and frequently went poaching there. So back in 1980, the 20th of December, I was in the forest poaching. Now, bear this in mind, before this encounter, I saw and heard a lot of strange things in that forest. I could tell you stories that would bend your bones. So every time that I went poaching, I always took my camera, always hoping to capture some evidence. The case involved military witnesses from the twin NATO bases RAF Woodbridge and RAF Bentwaters in Suffolk, England, who saw strange lights in late December of 1980. So it's probably pretty cold that evening, I should guess, folks. Two airmen, Staff Sergeant Jim Pennison and Airman John Burrows, I believe, claimed that they got so close to a triangular craft they actually touched it. Colonel Halt then led a military team into the forest to investigate the sightings. They also saw strange lights and a red orb with a black center winking back at them, and claimed a UFO fired a beam of light near their feet. He actually has this on audio recording. He's talking about this as this is happening, folks. We can listen to Colonel Charles Halt, his actual voice at that time, in real time, talking about what's happening to him. If you've never heard that, I suggest you go look it up. It's chilling. It's the best way to describe it. Anyway, they also saw strange lights and a red orb. Oh, I'm sorry. Haltwood later wrote a memo to the MOD describing the freakish incident, but it was filed away by defense chiefs. The poacher said, I saw a basketball-sized red orb. It had a black center like a pupil, and it looked just like an eye winking at you. Just like Halt explained it, he said. It was zigzagging between the trees. Strange, freaked me out, weird, proper, not right. I saw it before Halt, he says. It passed me first. Halt and his team were about 200 meters away. I could hear all of the noise. Later, I saw another UFO. It was firing beams of light down to the ground, definitely looking for something. God only knows what. I've also seen a UFO shoot a beam down and I could into the water, and I could swear that it was looking for something. I bet everything I own it was. Anyway, to go further, I tell you, what I witnessed was simply incredible. Definitely extraterrestrial. No two ways about it. You can read books and watch TV shows about it, but I'm telling you, you had to be there to really understand and appreciate just how incredible this thing was. It changed my life forever. Yeah, I've said exactly the same statement in my own life. And it does. Once you're exposed to craft or technology that's clearly not terrestrial, yeah, it's a game changer for you, folks. I promise it is. Anyway, to go a little further, I've sat on this information for over 40 years, and it feels good to get it out and show the truth. After this thing happened, I was followed for weeks. I had my phone tapped, and it was a scary time. The poacher submitted his photos and his story anonymously through the UFO Casebook website, which collects information about UFO sightings from around the world. British and UFO sleuth Philip Mantle, a former director of investigators for the British UFO Research Association, is keeping an open mind on the photos. He said, with today's digital technology, I have become very wary of any alleged UFO photographs, even more so when the photographer is anonymous, as he is here with these pictures.
Right.
Before I could come to any conclusions, I would have to know a lot more detail about the type of camera, the film, the exposure, and so on. Remember, if these photos are authentic and taken in 1980, they would be on film and not digital. So until I have more information on these photos, the jury remains open. But
Right.
I would have to proceed with the utmost caution, which is true. Tim, what are your thoughts on these photos?
No, I agree 100%. The photos were submitted to a newspaper. That's why they're in black and white. Otherwise, they'd be in color. I mean, we'd see some color for that time period, with even standard cameras. So, yeah, they're alleged. But if they are authentic, and they appear to be so, according to the witness, they are groundbreaking. I mean, we've never seen any pictures like this ever before about Rendlesham. I've never seen them, and I've seen thousands of hours of footage, and this is the first time I found them. But
I'm personally going to have to. I'm going to have to call this one. If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
It may be, it may not be.
Yeah, some of those photos are breathtaking, and if they are in fact authentic, then it's a major smoking gun. But I mean, the guy's right underneath this thing where it's shooting the beam of light down. He happened to be right in that position. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about these. I mean, I think they're interesting. I think, if anything, I'm just glad that it's bringing this particular incident back to the forefront so we can talk about it again. Sherry, what are your thoughts on that?
I think the pictures are very, very interesting, but again, are they authentic? It's very easy these days to be able to make pictures look like something that they're not and make out that it's put back many years. I'm not saying that it's real. I'm not saying that it isn't. If they are, then like Tommy said and Tim, then they've got some groundbreaking evidence of these objects. of
Right.
travel that they use. But
That's all I'm
again,
saying.
you kind of have to be there, I guess. You have to be there and witness it yourself to be able to fully know you. That's why you do this research and stuff. Like,
Right.
they're amazing, whatever, but I can't really opinion and say that they're real because
Right.
we don't
I can't.
know fully, do we? So
Well, let's go to Chris. Chris, what are your thoughts on the photos?
I'm the same as Sherry. I mean, they are amazing. They are amazing. It's a shame we couldn't find out the originals, the original negatives, because if you could get that, well, there would be gold dust. There would be gold dust. But they're
Absolutely.
amazing, and I do believe the following that to me, from 100%, something happened that night. Something definitely happened that night. And you know what the military's like. They'll try everything in their power to cover something up.
Sure.
But
Sure.
the photos, I'm half and half. They look amazing, but still, I would give it a little bit longer until you can find out a wee bit more.
yeah,
Sure. Yep. Dakota, what are your thoughts?
I would say there's too much to really say for sure. I mean, the argument can go both ways. If they're real, they'd be some of the best photos out there, especially for that time frame. If they're not, like you were saying earlier, I would have to see how they were developed because sometimes you can get holes during the development process, which can cause an overexposure of light that would take on that appearance. And all it would take is someone taking pictures with another camera. Maybe they had actual physical stills, take the picture on the camera so they can send them off, or different image compressions over time could have made it to where it's harder to tell if there's any manipulation like that. I mean,
yeah.
jury's still out on this one.
Yeah, but
I agree with that.
it would be really difficult to do that back in 1980. My brother used to have a film developing all the stuff he needed to develop film at home with a black room and all that, and a photo room. And I can honestly tell you that he could not do what you were suggesting right there, creating the holes and the lines and whatnot. That was back in 80. Now, maybe now with digital processing, it would be a lot more easy.
Well,
So, yes, these could be fake. But then again, if they're not, that's the whole key. If they're not.
well, we've got older photos that have been possibly faked. We know there's some that have been faked. We know that there's some that's just mud on a windowsill. I mean, the Billy Meyer guy, whether or not you believe his stories, if his stories are authentic, then obviously we have the best, most authentic, detailed photos of UFOs we've ever seen. However, his story is bizarre, and not that anything in ufology isn't, but I mean, his is particularly bizarre. And a lot of people are questioning it, and frankly, I'm one of them. That being said, now, can we put up the photo of the one beaming down again, Tim? Now, I don't know. The guy, if this is a real shot from, say, a 35 millimeter camera, then it would be, to Dakota's point, probably the most substantial UFO photo that there is out there. But if you look at where this guy's at, and the position that he's in, he just happens to be right there at that time. I don't know. I don't know if a 35 millimeter photo from 1980 from a non-professional camera is going to be that crisp, number one, especially in a night shot. I just question this. I mean, I wish I could say, bam, there it is. Boom, it's a smoking gun. Drop the mic. It's all over with. Let's everybody go home. But I just can't do that with these photos. Now, again, I'm not saying that they're not authentic, but to the author's point of the article that I read, I'm going to have more information. What kind of camera, the film, blah, blah, exposure, the whole 9 yards, before I can give you any credibility on this.
And we actually have direct contact with Philip Mantle, because he's the one that referred us our last interview with Irina Scott. So we'll get a hold of him, and if we can find out any more information on these photographs, we'll bring it out in the next live stream, and everybody will have the updated version on whether they're truthful or not.
Absolutely.
That'll solve the issue.
Yep. Well, I guess, folks, without further ado, we have a fantastic UFO video review for you this evening. We're going to go ahead and roll that, and we'll of course, discuss that with the panel as well.
Okay, hold on a second. The UFO video review is a 14-minute clip. So if you need to get something to drink or some popcorn, do that. Here it is. Here are 8 objects or 1 object over Louisville, Kentucky on 11/9/21.
Hey guys, it's UFO Man. Here's a clip coming out of Louisville, Kentucky of 8 objects, unknown as to what they are. There are no plumes, so it doesn't indicate flares, and they stayed for approximately 1.5 minutes. Due to his camera dying, he did not film the objects leaving the frame. So make an assessment, let me know what you think, and as always, thank you for watching. Coming up are 4 still shots. On another note, these objects were filmed on 11/19/2021.
That's white.
Mm-hmm.
But there are 8.
Interesting. Can we tell if they're moving independently?
No, they're actually moving side by side, but they're not moving from their original positions. You know what I'm saying? The lights are maintaining their positions.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, it's UFO Man. Here's a clip coming out of Colorado from a jet airliner at 30,000 feet, filming what appears to be a cigar or a cylinder-shaped vehicle. Take a good look, make an assessment, let me know what you think. This was filmed on October 26, 2021.
Yeah, now I turned off the audio so we can comment. This thing is moving quite quickly and it disappears into the clouds.
Huh. It doesn't look like a cruise missile or anything. I mean, it doesn't seem to have any features, no tail.
No propulsion trail.
And again, like we've said before, you don't generally see missile testing anywhere around commercial traffic. You just don't see it.
Especially not in the United States.
Right. Huh. Gentlemen, Dakota, what are your thoughts on that one?
It certainly is interesting. It does seem like there's a few more structural details towards the rear end of it, but obviously the person's too far to really catch anything major.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Chris, what are your thoughts?
I don't think it's a plane. It's like a cigar-shaped UFO.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very interesting one. It's yeah, I don't know, but it looks very unusual.
Okay, here's a military plane escorting 3 to 4 unknown objects over New Mexico on 11/23/2021.
Hey guys, it's UFO Man. Here's a clip coming out of New Mexico of 3 disc-shaped UFOs escorting a military plane.
Now there's actually 4. There's one by the
Let me know
wing.
what you think? Could they possibly be drones?
Yeah.
Or alien reproduction vehicles? Unknown at this time.
I think what we're looking at there is a military plane that's controlling a swarm of drones. We're hearing this more and more lately that the military is experimenting with that technology. And I would be willing to bet that those are probably little triangles shaped drones. And when I say little, I'm talking the size of a car or bigger. But I would bet. I mean, they're flying in perfect formation, and I mean,
There's one on the wing, though. It looks like there's something hanging off the wing when I do an enlargement, but it's the fourth one. And another thing is that when you enlarge the actual objects that are next to the plane, they're not triangular.
oh, if I could real quick, I wanted to give a shout out to my father, Big Tom. Dad, thanks for watching tonight, Dad. Really appreciate it.
Good to have you, Big Tom. See, right there above the wing. And here's the enlargement. It's not triangular. Now, this is weird. Odd red and white strobing object over
Hey
Kama
guys, it's
City,
UFO Man.
Japan.
Here's an odd-looking light over Kama City, Japan, dated November 29th, 2021. I don't know what it is. Make an assessment. Let me know what you think.
What drew me to this was the light in the middle is moving from left to right and a little bit up and down.
You sure the object just isn't twisting in the wind?
It's not. According to the witness, it's not. And if you look at those lines up above, they change position. See that?
One on the bottom is doing something weird.
Yeah, it flickers in and out. I don't know what the deal is with that.
Sherry, what are your thoughts on this one?
That one's really, really bizarre. When you look at it from here, like, I know this is going to sound stupid, it looks a bit like those little eggs that are on the Pikachu and all that. You have those balls that open and the things come out. It looks a bit like that. Like when you're looking at it, the lighting and stuff. Like, I was going to say, could it be one of those respect lanterns that they let off? That's got about the way that the lines are moving and the way the light is.
Oh, you mean like a Chinese lantern? No,
Yeah,
because a Chinese lantern,
that's what
when
I'm
you
just getting into. It's not, because there's not a movement in that way, and the light
Right.
would not be moving around like that. So it's really bizarre. There's a weird outline into it as well, a solid outlining. So that's bizarre.
You are correct. You are correct. I don't know what it is.
Gentlemen, any thoughts, theories on this one?
It's quite. It's what Sherry says about the Pikachu. Japan is a big place for the Pikachu. I don't know if it's maybe a drone or something. That
Oh,
somebody's
yeah,
modified.
somebody said
I
that
was,
in the
I was
chat.
about to say, it looks like something.
Yes.
Being that this is Japan, it looks like a projected
Yeah.
image of some kind of Pokeball.
Yeah. I think
I
it's
had somebody
drone.
say that. I had somebody say that in the chat actually when I posted this video. But according to the witness, it was huge and it didn't make any sound and it had all the aspects of a UFO. But yeah, maybe. Who knows? Here we go. Unknown cluster of lights or one UFO outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Driving me nuts. It's not an airplane or anything like that. It's just sitting there, twinkling, like it's kind of twinkling. I have no idea what that is.
Now I'll get closer so you guys can see it better.
What is that?
Hey guys, it's UFO Man. Here's a clip coming out of Pennsylvania of a flickering object or objects unknown at this time as to whether they're multiple lights or one specific vehicle.
And the reason I said that is because the top lights are staying in place. They're not moving. It looks like one object with a bunch of lights on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this was filmed on July 27th, so that popping you hear in the background is probably late fireworks.
It's a strange one, right?
Now, I did this in 2 different filters so that people could take a better look at it. I did it in a light gold filter, and I did it in the normal color, which is the bright gold and orange. Right there.
No idea.
The random one.
Here's a fleet of 12 UFOs flying in formation over the South China Seas outside Hong Kong.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what that is.
That is some weird shit.
Wow.
Between 120, that's more 7, good day. Between 120, good day, Marine 273.
Hey guys, it's UFO Man. Here's a clip coming out of Hong Kong, dated 11/24/2021, of 12 unknown lights flying at an altitude of 33,000 feet, filmed from a passenger jet. Take a look, make an assessment, let me know what you think.
Now I'm going to run it through a filter so I can bring out the lights better. Here we go.
I don't know what that is.
That is some weird shit.
Looks like they're blinking out because they're going into the clouds a little bit, I think, maybe.
Well, there's a bottom light on the bottom that disappears, and then it reappears on the top. It's like the lights are cycling.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That is just really, really, really odd. Formation, no less. Just, I mean, it's not random.
Right, and you can hear the pilots talking about them.
What do you got on this one, Dakota?
I've been seeing this one floating around. I am honestly not too sure what to think of it. I find it interesting that there's obviously a stream pattern to how they move forward.
Agreed. Chris?
I'm thinking I don't know if it could be drones, but drones are they're quite far away. I'm actually quite puzzled with this, actually. To be honest with you, it's a very strange one.
They would need to be military.
Blending in. Yeah.
This is at 33,000
Yeah,
feet.
they'd have to be.
So.
They have to be military
I
drones
was
at
going to say that as
33,000
well.
feet.
I was going to say it's a bit high for normal drones to be going, and just the pattern of them and stuff, and the way that they're moving and disappearing and coming back.
Plus, you would also, you would also think that these pilots, the commercial pilots, would recognize a drone from just some kind of light. So, if they're saying this is some weird blank, they know personally that this is not probably a drone. But then again, we don't know, so that's why they're unidentified. But this has been going around the internet. A lot of people have been saying that it's probably some of the best UAP or UFO footage out there to date.
Definitely interesting. I mean, there's something there. Brent Elliott asked, could they be flares? I would have to say probably no, just because, I mean, they're not descending. They're not, I mean, they're all staying basically in a formation. No, I don't think these are flares. And I really don't, I'm not buying the drone thing, especially when you're talking 33,000 feet, you're talking about a drone that's going to have a jet engine or something like that on it. It's not going to be.
You're going to hear it.
Yeah, you're going to have like 4 little propellers.
with
it could be
flares,
like a
when you
predator.
slap a flare up in the air, it goes all over the place, doesn't it? So they're
Right.
going to stay in a line.
Right,
Yeah.
and these 12 objects were evenly spaced. The lines
Yeah.
were evenly spaced. I almost got the impression it might be one big, huge object with
Yeah.
cycling lights at different levels or
Yeah.
different stages on the object, but the rest of the object was cloaked.
I sort of had that thought too.
Yeah, that's what I
It could
was
very
thinking.
well be.
Okay, going on. Triangular object with rounded edges over Stechford, Birmingham, UK.
Listen, Obi. Listen, Obi. I have it. Don't tell nobody.
Oh, what was that?
Hey guys, it's UFO Man. Here is a triangular object with rounded edges coming out of Stechford, Birmingham, UK. Check it out, make an assessment, let me know what you think.
You said he was filming the waxing moon when he caught this by accident.
Hmm. You know, I've heard this more and more often lately. There's a lot more activity in the UK recently, but here's the thing. Can't we say that just about everywhere else too, though? It seems like
Yes.
it's worldwide.
I think everybody's getting a lot of communication sightings going everywhere.
Listen, Obi. Listen, Obi. I have it. Don't tell nobody.
Somebody told him. Somebody told. Spill the beans, baby.
Yeah, you know, my first impression when I saw this was, could it be a balloon? And then my second impression was, could it be a bag? You know, but at the height it was moving because he was using a telescope with a camera on it. You know, he was looking pretty high up.
You just seem to leave.
Could it be real? I don't know. So it's still unknown, but it's very interesting. It's a very interesting shape.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say it almost looks like a fishing sinker. But it is interesting because it's over Stechford, and I think that's pretty near you, isn't it, Sherry?
Stinsford and that, few hours, probably about 3 or 4 hours away.
Okay.
So the
So
other
you got
side, the other side of the continent.
Yep.
It's definitely interesting.
It's actually quite weird.
Oh, I went too far. Hold on. No, I went too far.
Check it out, make an assessment, let me know what you think.
Maybe I didn't. Just double checking, guys.
Well, folks, very interesting video this week. There's all kinds of there's a couple in there I think we can explain maybe, but there's also a couple in there that are unknowns, which those are the ones we really love the most. Those night shots are very hard for us to authenticate because, as someone's point in the chat or room earlier, there's really
no
no
frame
point
of reference.
Right. So those are very difficult indeed. Wanted to go ahead and thank everybody for coming out and give everybody a last word. Sherry, would you anything else you'd like to comment on or tell us about?
Again,
Christmas
like
show?
those pictures and stuff like that, and the videos and stuff like that, really, really, really good. I really enjoyed them. Yeah, I do think that a couple of them may be something, and some of them could probably be more explained.
Right.
If you're interested in paranormal and ufology and things, then please come and check over my channel, Paranormal World Investigators, and my company as well, which is PWIRD, which is Paranormal World Investigators Research Division. And I specialise in working with all strange and unknown things from paranormal ufology to cryptozoology, guys.
Tell us about your Christmas show, please.
I have a Christmas show on the 23rd of December at 10 p.m. UK time, where I'm going to be having some special guests come up. So all 4 of these lovely gentlemen will be present with me. My sister Drew will, and I have got a few people down on the list that are wanting to join. So if you've had paranormal experiences, you've had UFO experiences, and you want to join panel, you're more than welcome.
Get over there and sub, folks. Get over there and sub that channel. You're going to love it. And again, Sherry, thank you very much for being here with us as always.
Thank you for
Really
having us.
appreciate that.
Always awesome as always, guys. You know, love you too. You're definitely the best. Well,
Thank you.
two of the best. There's four of you on here now.
Please
so.
remember to go out to Bald and Bonkers website, not website, YouTube channel, which is right here, and sub to their channel, watch their content, drop them a like. Let's get them up over 1,000 so they can monetize. Okay, all right.
That would be great.
Their links are in the room, guys. I have been posting the links through the night, so you can get their links that way.
Oh.
You can also get them under Bold and Bonkers on Facebook as well. Don't forget that, Twitter, and they've got other places as well.
Right. I have to advertise one other person this evening. It's Tommy Highway. Tommy is an author. He's a pretty esteemed author. He's come out with 3 books, but tonight we're going to advertise 2 of them. Here they are. Tommy?
Yeah, folks, it is the gift season. Everybody loves literature. Everybody loves books. Everybody loves great stories. Strange Tales are basically it's a storybook of several different very odd experiences that I've had in life, including my UFO experiences. All that's detailed in there. But the thing is, and I'm going to post a link out here for a second, folks. Many years ago, believe it or not, when I was working for the government during the day, I would actually run across the street to the gym and I would teach ladies fitness classes at night. And I did this for many, many years. And I wrote the book She Time based on that experience. And there's actually a diet in there for ladies and all kinds of tricks about metabolism and things of that nature. And I'll tell you, I've actually been very fortunate that I've actually cured type 2 diabetes in 2 different people. And I use those methods that are in that book to do that. So if you folks are trying to lose a few pounds, especially you ladies out there, if that's what you're into, or if you've got a friend maybe that's trying to lose a little bit of weight, that kind of thing, sort of change their life, well, that's a great book. She Time is a wonderful book. Really appreciate it if you go out there and check that out for me. Thank you.
Also, I recommend Strange Tales from the Highway. There are some stories in there about UFOs, personal encounters by Tommy Highway, and also some other amazing stories as well that aren't necessarily UFO related, but just as much entertaining. So get over and get your copy today. They're reasonably priced. They're available at www.tommyhighway.com.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I also would like to, I'd also like to give a shout out to my channel members, Donna McFadden, Goddess XOXO, Beats, and Occam's Razor. Thank you very much for being members of our channel.
Yes, thank you very much. Really appreciate that.
Any last words, guys?
Awesome
Just like
show.
to thank you very much for having me.
Yes.
Awesome
want
show.
to thank the panel for being here. Again, sub on all their channels, folks. Really great content out there. Thank you very much for coming out as always, folks. Tim and I will also be doing something very special for Christmas as always, so stick around for that as well. But we'll see you all next week.
Right, and thanks to everybody who participated in the chat room. Drew, it was really good to see you. One of these days we'll have you up here with the rest of the crew.
Yeah, definitely.
It was very nice to see everybody in the chat room and also everybody who participated online. Thank you very much and good evening.
Thank you for the support.